How's it going, everybody? This is the Jeff Foxx radio show online, back at you one more time. And today we are going to meet a great filmmaker, a guy that has a passion for film that goes all the way back from where he was a little boy growing up in Staten Island. And the work he's doing now, it's unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program the great Andre Joseph. I like that, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
How are you, my friend?
I am doing very well today, Jeff. How are you doing?
You know, I've always loved filmmakers because they have the vision, and then when they put out the product, it lasts forever. And it includes music, it includes pictures, it includes film, it includes actors. Everything is included. That's why we love films. And so we're going back to Staten Island. There had to be something that made you say, I want to do this.
Well, it started for me just taking my action figures on a weekday afternoon after school.
Yeah.
Watching my favorite cartoons, my favorite movies, and just reenacting everything that I saw.
Right.
And, at the same time, like my parents both were working at the same time.
Right.
And I would have to go to my grandmother's house to, just to spend time with her and watch over me. And my cousins would be there too.
Right.
So we would start playing charades and start reenacting stuff that we saw.
So you were doing that from way at the beginning. You were already had cast members, your
Yeah,
family, right?
essentially.
Action figures with the extras.
Exactly.
So that's where the creativity started way back then. Now, at what point did you decide, let me pick up a camera and start to document this?
Well, my uncle, who was living with my grandmother at the time, he had just bought one of those old VHS cameras.
Right.
And we were like, we should use that to film some of our stuff.
Right.
But we were like 10, 12 years old. He wasn't going to let us touch it.
Right.
So about a few years later, I was just about to enter high school, and we were on a vacation in Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Oh, yes.
And we made some friends in our hotel, and we started doing the same stuff with them. We were just like running around, having all these mischievous adventures. And my mom had just gotten a camera.
Okay.
So I talked her into doing like this little like detective movie that we wanted to do that we wrote down.
Okay, whose idea was it for the movie?
Myself and one of my cousins.
Okay, so you're writing.
Right.
You got a plot. So you got the whole. So that's your storyboard now. You got the script, and since now you're doing it. You don't even realize you're doing it, do you?
No, not really. I mean,
just having fun right now. Right?
We're just having fun. We got our Disney shirts on or whatever. We didn't care about like trying to make it look real. We just wanted to run around and make this look exciting
and then look back on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the fun part, right? Yeah. That's wonderful. So now you got the camera, you got the script, and you laid down your first movie, which was this detective movie. Mm-hmm. And when you look back on it, did the light bulb ring off then?
Little by little, because it became a thing where I was getting my friends over almost every weekend to film stuff, or if my cousins were there. And then once I was in high school, we were proposed with a class project to do like a murder mystery type of story. Okay, so now everybody else is doing like the cheesy stuff that I started out doing. I decided to do like something that was a little bit more nuanced and complex, like a kidnapping story.
Okay.
And then when my performing arts teacher saw it, she was like, "Oh my God, like the music you put in there, the acting, you're playing multiple parts in it. Like, who is this guy?"
Exactly.
And then the next thing you know, they have an award ceremony at the end of the year, and we win Best Picture and Best Director.
Right out the gate.
Right, and I just remember driving home that night with my mom and saying, like, I think I want to do this now.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you have a vision. Now you have a goal. Did you start researching other filmmakers, and who do you look at as sort of a mentor? Are there any directors you say, I like his work or I like her work?
There are so many inspirations that I could say, be it Spike Lee, John Singleton, the director Michael Mann, who did Miami Vice, of course Steven Spielberg. Everybody grew up with Spielberg and George Lucas.
Exactly.
But I was starting, as I got older, to look at their style of how they used the camera, how they told the story, how they not only did special effects, but also how they were able to make that story simplistic enough for an audience to have an emotion.
This is Andre Joseph, and we're going through the journey. He's got his first award, his first film. He's sort of the whiz kid is what it is. He kind of caught the attention of older folks, and they say, who is this guy with all this vision and complex layers? Now, what was the next step?
Well, the next step was now I had to really learn how to make a real film. So my parents enrolled me into New York Film Academy for a
Changed
summer.
your life, right?
Yes, 4-week summer program where
Summer program. Huh?
yeah, you had to shoot on celluloid, 16mm film,
Right.
go out into Central Park, and you have to tell a story that has conflict in it.
Right.
And you have to be able to pull that off in like 3 minutes or less.
Okay.
I was doing like almost hour-long movies up until that point with my
Wow.
friends. I wasn't even thinking about like, oh, there's a concept to making short films.
Exactly.
But once I got the hang of it and understood what it took to actually block a scene, light a scene, then it was like I wasn't deterred. I was just like, okay, now I have this tool.
When you say the New York Film Institute, and now you're around other folks that are doing what you want to do, and I know that really must have opened you up, and to see other folks doing the same thing, and you probably met some good friends, and now you're really on the path now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was already in high school where most people that I knew were just into sports or into music.
Right.
And this was the first time I was around like other kids like myself that wanted to do film.
Really serious about it, right?
Right.
So when you would go to the movies and you would look at a movie, you would see things differently than the average person going to a movie. Now, you're starting to think like a director and a filmmaker when you see a movie or something on television, right?
I think there's times where if it's a big blockbuster, I'm willing to just check my brain at the door and just have a good time.
Just try to enjoy yourself.
Right. But then there's other times where I can't lie. I do get critical, and I start picking out, why is this woman's hair out of place in this shot? Why is this guy not wearing his tie in one shot, and then the next shot he's got a tie on?
Right.
Or this effect looks phony. I mean, like little things like that I started to realize.
Okay, so now you're in you're in the 4-week program. You're meeting folks. You're learning more. You're really becoming a filmmaker. It's happening. What was the next step?
Well, the next step was to get out of high school. So finally, I graduated.
This all happened while you're in high school.
Yeah.
This is really great. A lot of folks in high school don't find themselves that fast. So you got a head start.
Yeah. So I mean, like I tried to get into like the best college that I could. Of course, SATs were not the best. So I went to a community school in Florida for 2 years to get my gen ed up. And I was still writing. I was still doing like some small films with people that I knew in that community. But eventually, once I got my credits up, I decided I wanted to go to Emerson College in Boston.
Wow, you've been bouncing. You've been bouncing.
It's a long journey.
Yeah. So you went to Boston. How long were you in Boston?
I was there for 2.5 years.
Met more folks.
I met a lot more folks, some people even from LA that I was surprised coming to the East Coast who already kind of knew their stuff. But it was not just what I had learned in Film Academy, but now it was the new technology. It was digital filmmaking. It was, editing on Adobe Premiere, editing on Final Cut Pro.
Technology is always changing, and you have to keep up with it. So now you still have your ideas, but you have to keep up with the technology. And with the technology, is it easier to do things now because everything's so available, so affordable?
I think now we're at that point where what it takes to make like a solid film is within our grasp. You get a good red camera, you get some decent actors, and you get like some fantastic locations. You can make a film that rivals what Hollywood does now.
To tell me if this story fits what you're going through. I spoke with Bill Duke many years ago, and he was telling me that he knew some friends of his that were, like you, filmmakers, and they try to get those production deals from the big studios, and they couldn't. So what they decided to do is go to, buy all their equipment from Apple or wherever they got it, and they made their own films, and then they took those films to Walmart and Target, whoever, and got distribution deals. And he said something that I'll never forget. He says, we are in the time of discover yourself. So if you don't have those big people helping you, we have all the stuff in front of us to discover yourselves. Is that what you're doing?
I believe that's what I'm trying to do now, is to try to build a brand and also to try to build an audience, because as I've gotten older, I mean, I've met Bill Duke. I've also met Robert Townsend, who I also consider to be a major inspiration and one of the most humble people that I've ever met in my life. And
what did he tell you? What did Bill tell you? What did Robert tell you?
These guys basically told me, that if you're going to get to your dream, you have to not only make sacrifices, but you got to realize you have to sometimes crawl through mud. Sometimes you have to crawl up mountains and not look down, at the face of fear. Because if you want to reach that dream, it's got to come from within. Right. So that's
good advice.
Right. No, it's stuck with me for such a long time.
That's good advice. So now you got these folks, these nuggets of wisdom. What's the next thing? You're in Boston. You're coming out of Boston. What did you do then?
Well, after I graduated, I went back home and I said, okay, I want to just jump into this right away. So I went and decided to make my own independent film. It was called Priceless, and it was made back in 2007.
Wow, what was that about?
I was basically basing it on like heist movies that I grew up watching, as well as just injecting little things in my love life that were not the greatest at that time, I'll admit. But basically, it was like a jewel thief who... He's on the run from the mob. Right. He goes back to his hometown, meets up with his old girlfriend who now has a daughter. So he's trying to show that he could be a changed person, and then all kinds of hijinks occur.
So if you didn't do filmmaking, you could have been an author. You could write books, is what you're saying. You have that vision of putting your thoughts down on paper so people can read your stories.
My inspirations for writing come from all kinds of weird sources. Right. So it always creates like a hot flash in me to just... put it down on paper. I don't even think about it.
And then you want to see it.
Right.
I love it. Now, you got a chance to audition actors. How was that, to actually have people audition for your film?
To have people audition, I mean,
that must have been really something.
Yeah, even the first time when I made my first film, I mean, it was just unbelievable. People coming from all walks of classes and
want to be in the movies, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to be in the movies. That doesn't change. That's something about that. And being the director, that's a different vibe too. How does that feel to be the director and all these folks looking at you for guidance?
I embraced it very quickly, because it used to be, as a kid, you just want people to show up. Right. And half the time, everybody just wanted to go play basketball or do whatever, or just hang out. Right. But when I first got on my first set, just directing a picture, having all these folks that are there for me.
Did you pay them? Is there money involved?
Here and there.
When you do your movies for money, let me know.
Oh, well, we're getting to that point now.
So after Priceless, what happened?
Well, with Priceless, it was an interesting learning lesson, because I was trying to aim for the biggest festivals possible. Right. I was trying to get distribution, and doors would...
Do you find a lot of folks out there making film? Is it really a big community?
I think it's gotten bigger over time.
A lot of folks want to do this now, right?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So it makes it a little harder for you to get through the door to get known, because the pool is really crowded. Huh?
It's got more crowded. It's definitely got more competitive, with just everybody pushing themselves, whether they're shooting on their iPhone or shooting on a Red. Wow. Everybody is sort of...
I heard about people making movies on the iPhone. Can they do that? Is it that little thing that powerful that you can get good quality?
It's unbelievable. Like, even just with things they're attaching now with different lenses, it's just amazing.
Well, that actually allows you to get the product done without having to put out all this money for equipment. So that's good to get your vision out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had even like filmmakers that have been doing this since the 90s saying, yeah, just get an iPhone, make like a short little film, and it could be just as explosive.
So you talk to other filmmakers, you guys share ideas and stuff. That's really great.
And a lot of war stories.
A lot of sure. It's got to be. So Priceless took you to where?
Priceless took me to my second film, which was Dishonorable Vendetta, which was an action film.
You like the action. You like the murders and the kidnapping, huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Just like, but having more of a human element to it, so it's not just, blood and guts.
Right. It's a storyline and action, right?
Right.
So tell me about this Vendetta. What's the name of it again?
Dishonorable Vendetta.
Oh, man, that sounds good. What was that about?
This one dealt with these two undercover drug enforcement agents. They get together to investigate a group of Russian drug runners.
Okay.
And there happens to be a leak in their department that's giving information to Russians. So, like, their guys are getting killed off or being turned on.
Wow.
And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in that one, too.
Well, that sounds good. And the actors, and how long did that last?
This one, probably the longest. It took a year to shoot, but it took 2 years in post-production.
Wow. When you say post-production, what's that mean?
Well, it's editing the film together, but it was also the music, the sound effects, and the special effects.
It's a process, right?
Yes.
Wow. When you go see the blockbusters, like we just saw Black Panther, and at the end of it, the credits are rolling up. I mean, there's a lot of folks that make a movie, right? Did you ever think about working with those type of sets before you started to do your own project?
That's always been my dream, is to get to that point where I could work on a Marvel film or a Star Wars movie. But I'd be just as happy doing like a small New York City independent film.
Right. Now, you've been a director so long. Would you do that? Would you work with another project just being on that list of people going up? There's like thousands of people. Would you want to be one of those names? Or have you gone past that?
I think for me, I mean, I don't think I would do production assistant work again, but if I could get to the level of being like an assistant director for like Martin Scorsese or for Spike, I would absolutely take it in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
I feel like there's a lot of knowledge you could gain out of them on the set.
Right. And do you feel folks are starting to know you and the work that you've done?
I think in this past year alone, with the work that I've done, it's starting to come around.
You can feel that, right?
Yeah, just talking to you today is such an honor.
That's right. Well, this is really great now, and we're excited about your new project because this is the Saxophonist.
Yes.
And I love music, and so this is it seemed like it going in a different direction from the action movies. This is a different type of story. What's this about?
Well, this is a film that I wrote when I was actually in college, but not for a class. I wrote it for myself, based on my love life again, and also I was taking a history of jazz class at the time, so that kind of influenced me with creating this this young saxophone player who wants to be the next Charlie Parker or Coleman Hawkins or Miles Davis.
Well, this is different.
Yeah, and the big thing for him is, as driven as he is with his talent, it's hard for him to have relationships with women. Right. And he comes across a point where there's that opportunity to sign with a big label, go out to the West Coast.
Or his love life.
Right. This wonderful ballet dancer he meets who is more intellectual than any woman he's ever met. Right. So it's like, what do I do here? Yeah, very torn emotionally.
So that's good. So who did you find to play the role of the saxophonist?
I knew I didn't want to play it myself because I can't play sax, unfortunately. Right. So a family friend of ours suggested this guy, Bevan Lawrence, who's based out of Brooklyn. He had never acted previously. Right. He was a student of Jackie McLean, and he'd been playing professionally around the New York City area.
Right.
So I remember just talking to him, having a good vibe. I felt his personality was close to what I had on the page.
And how was he as an actor? Did he soak it up like a sponge?
He was like a little kid once he got on the set.
He really loved it. Huh?
Yeah, this was like off his bucket list just to work in a film.
So is it done?
It's completed. We actually have an exclusive screening of the trailer next week. And it's going to be at my school at Emerson College in Los Angeles, and it's going to be part of the Ebony programming, and then we're premiering the movie on May 4th in Brooklyn.
Oh, this is going to be exciting!
Yes,
the whole movie in Brooklyn on May 4th, right? This is a big premiere. Where is that going to be shown?
It's going to be a place called Brooklyn Fete, where we actually shot one of our scenes. Okay, and it's on 1515 Nostrand Avenue.
You guys, is this for the public or this is a private screening?
It's a free event for the public.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You guys got to come out and see Andre Joseph's new movie, The Saxophonist. I mean, this guy started out in Staten Island. What part of Staten Island?
The Stapleton area, not far from the Wu-Tang.
Oh, okay. Yes. There you go. And he went all the way to Brooklyn to premiere The Saxophonist. I mean, this is going to be a great thing. What do you expect from the movie? What do you think things are going to happen?
I'm hoping that this film will not only expose young people to jazz and that there is excitement to it, but also that we can have positive love stories, positive representations of African Americans, just like Black Panther had done.
That's important, right?
Right.
So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I'm hoping within the next 5 years, I'm at the point where I could be on a set directing a project with the dad trucks, with the big generators, and working with the name actors, and just being able to continue to do the good work that I'm trying my best to accomplish.
That, the big generators. That's when you get the big generators, you made it, huh?
Yeah, no, when you see that big crane, it's like, okay, I'm here.
That's funny. I was walking through the city one year, and big trucks and all these big things on the street blocking up traffic, and I'm saying, what movie is this? And I asked one of the production guys, and it turned out to be a commercial. So it doesn't matter. Production is production. A movie or a commercial, you still need all the goodies to make it happen, right?
Yeah, well, Spike Lee actually said this one good advice. No matter whether the project is 30 seconds or 3 hours long, tell that story in
Right.
3 acts.
Right, in 3 acts. Did you have a chance to talk to Spike?
I've met him briefly at the premiere of She Hate Me back in 2004.
Going back.
It wasn't a long conversation, but all I could say is he's been, like, since school days,
Right.
just a huge inspiration in my life.
Well, you seem that you're moving right along, and you're heading in the right direction. I'm glad to catch you at this level, because I know in a little while I'll have to talk to your PR people. He's not available. He's out of the country on location. That's coming, right?
Yeah, but I always try to make time for you, Jeff.
All right. Did we catch everything? Is there anything that we missed that you need to tell the folks?
Well, I just want to give a big thanks to Republic Lounge for having us here today, and also to the entire cast and crew at the Saxophonist, as well as my cast and crew from my award-winning film Vendetta Games.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been hugely important in my career, and I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys.
What's the name of your company?
AJ Epyx Productions.
How'd you come? I like that. I like that. Epyx Productions.
Yes.
Right? You put it out there and you make it happen. Everything you make is going to be an epic, right? At some
Exactly.
level, right?
Eventually.
Fantastic. Yeah. So the guy he's on his way. He's there. You know, look for his name. He's going to be around a long time. And, you know, we're in an age now that everybody likes to sit at the house with the big screen TVs. Everybody got the 65-inch televisions. So no matter what, you know, there are so many different ways to see movies. You see them in the theaters. You got Netflix. You got Amazon. You got all these different ways to get stuff out there. Is that easier for you to get your work out there with all these different ways for folks to see things now?
There's a lot more options today than there were 20 years ago.
Right, and that helps, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, we live in a consumer world that folks just want stuff, don't they? More. So there's room for everybody.
Oh, yeah. I think there's equal opportunity now, and
Yeah.
the business is certainly changing to that degree.
Y'all move out the way. He's here. It's Andre Joseph today, filmmaker. He's an excellent cat, man. Right here on the Jeff Foxx Radio Show online. See you next time, Andre.
All right. Thank you.
Right.